how to fix holes in the wall. Here's a quick look at before. Had these IKEA small chairs on the wall, wanted to remove them, and obviously it leaves behind some holes. And here's after. So this is no sanding, this is no painting. It also works on peeled paint. So you know you have stickers on the wall and you peel it off and the paint comes away from the wall. It also works on that. I'm going to show you how I do this. You need the color or the paint that you originally had the wall colored in. Luckily I have extra paint here. Most of the walls are magnolia, so this is what we're using. Firstly, magnolia paint, and you can use this filling mixing compound. This can even be wall filler or normal standard filler, the powder stuff you get. You normally add water to it and then it makes a little putty and you can fill the holes. But I'm going to do something a little bit different here to make it all easier. If you're a tenant in the house and you live in a tenanted house, this is going to be ideal for you because you want to fill the holes before moving out, because obviously you want to get your deposit back. So if you have any holes, you want to make sure that you fill them up. And here's what I'm doing. I'm using a little bit of the paint as a substitute for the water. So I'll be using a little bit paint, and you can see how much I'm using here for the type of holes I've got. You don't need a lot. Literally a few grams will be fine because I've only got 6 holes to fill here. So I've took out some paint from the bucket and I just used a metal scraper to do this, and then you just dust on some of this powder. So this powder, I'll put links in the description so you can check these out online, or just go to your local DIY store and pick them up. You can even get little sample packs of paint as well. So if you want to fill a hole, you can even buy the little sample packs of the color you've got instead of buying a whole bucket. And here all I'm doing is taking a little bit of time, mixing the powder with the paint, and slowly it'll start becoming a putty. So don't put too much paint in, don't put too much powder in, filler. So you want to just slowly do this and put little bits so you can get the right balance for you. How this works is you'll actually be able to make the little putty, so it's like a bit of a, think of like a little dough. So you want it to be like not runny, not too firm, just enough so it makes like a little bit of a cake dough type mixture. And then you got a nice option there to use for filling the holes. What we'll do is we'll let this sit for a little while. If it's very runny, you can let it sit for a couple of minutes and it'll start getting thicker, or you can add a little bit more filler. So just to find balance and work it out. I'm doing this real time so you can see how I'm doing this here. So it lets you give you an idea of like how long it can actually take. So you'll see here literally within like 2 minutes I've made that and let it sit. So now I'm going to take these screws out of these little IKEA chairs. They're normally hooks. You can hang like headphones on their jackets and stuff. So quickly take the screws out, remove the chairs from the wall, and you'll be left behind with the holes. And if you had plugs in the hole, I'll show you a little trick to get the plugs out as well, so stay tuned. I'm also going to show you how to fix peeled paint. So sometimes when you have double-sided tape or you stick something on the wall where it's very strong, you pull it away, it actually comes away. But here you can see I'm simply using one of the screws. I'm just putting it into the hole, the plug, and just screwing a little tiny bit and just pulling away to take the plug out. So you'll see how that works here, and it gives you an idea. I'll show you a close-up of this. You put the screw in, you spin it a little bit, just enough to get a little tight hole, and you start pulling the plug away. This way you can fill the hole entirely. If you leave the plug in there, it's always a bit proud of the wall, so it doesn't look as nice. You don't get a nice smooth finish. So you can see the holes are quite deep. You've got the screws going in there. So next we're going to work over to get our mixture we've made. And so you'll see now the holes here will need to be filled up with some mix. All we're doing is using that filler mix that we made, which is basically paint, any choice of paint that you've got, and the filler. The filler is normally just brilliant white, normally tends to be white. So any color you mix in there will make the filler become that color. So you can see as I'm pulling it in here, it's basically covering the hole. You can't see the holes are there. Just use your scraper to go over it a few times to make it nice and smooth, which eliminates your need for sanding. And also we don't need to paint it because it's the same color as the wall. I'll show you a little close-up of this so you can see a little more detail. So you'll see you're simply putting on the mix and then just going over and rubbing your scraper just to get rid of any high spots, and then get rid of that filler, and then take some more. You can see I just go over that just to make it smooth, and then take some filler and put it over the hole and just squish it in, and then keep going over it a couple of times just to smooth it out. You can easily take the extra filler off the wall by scraping away, and it's actually surprising how easy this can be. Remember, if it's a colored wall, you can still do this. Just add the paint color that you want into the filler and then you're sorted. It can take a couple of minutes just to fill this up, and it saves you having to paint over it. And as long as it's the relevant color, you should be good to go. Take a few attempts and pass over it. There'll be slight indentation, so just take your time with the filling and use your scraper to smooth this process out. let's have a little look at some alternative options that you can do. So if you've got slightly more messed up walls, you can actually use a bigger spot to fill this. Here I had a nail which broke away and it left a disgusting kind of hole, and you can see afterwards it's like literally you can't tell there was ever anything there. So just take your time and look at this and consider how well it can work for you. And these are a couple of tricks. Here's some more. I had some, you know, the soundproof panels you put on the wall. I stuck them on some strong tape, and when I took them off, it ripped the paint off the wall. So the same thing, what happens is it leaves like a little bit of indentation. So if you paint it on itself, the paint is not thick enough to cover the hole entirely. But with this powder mix in there and the filler mix, it actually works a little bit better. I've increased the brightness in video just to show you that it shows slightly. You can see like the difference in color, but you just go over it with your scraper and smooth out the extra bits, and it will not be as noticeable as this plaster showing under the paint. So remember, this works in a number of locations. You can use it on the wall, you can use it on the ceiling. If you use it on the ceiling, just make a thicker mix so it doesn't fall onto your head. And I'm just going through here on the process, and I had the attic where I took out some insulation foam soundproof panels off the wall, and I basically went around and just filled up the hole just to make it a little bit more nice. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how this can work. I'll show you a little time lapse of how I done this, like wide shot. And if you have any, sometimes you have plasterboard screws that kind of protrude out, and it leaves like an odd shaped shape on the wall. So you can even fill that up and use that there. And it dries fairly quickly as well. So you can see here it's got like, that's literally like 10 minutes ago, and I've come back down and you can see it's a little bit wet, but not that wet. So within a few minutes it dries. So overall it works very well. Hopefully this gives you an idea of these little DIY projects you can do at home yourself, and it's surprising how easy they can be if you do it in the right way. And I'll see you in the next video of this series. I'm doing a few little videos, odd jobs around the house, and hopefully you find this useful. See you on the next version.